to the AnyVoices podcast. I'm your host, the real voice, Mel Allen. So let's do that one more take that we always talk about here. And in today's episode, talking about separating your personal and business profiles on social media. By the end of today's episode, I hope that you will have an answer as to why that could be an important thing. And if I have any good resources that I mention, they will be in the show notes or in the description below. The question is, should you separate your personal and your business profiles online? Do you have social media accounts for everything? Do you just have one that kind of catches it all? So, social media can be a lot like your holiday dinner table. You probably agree with a lot of the people that are around you that you're connecting with that are in your network, but there kind of can be those uncomfortable conversations that come up sometime. Maybe it's a topic of conversation. Maybe somebody's having an inappropriate conversation or topic that they're bringing up, maybe sharing some outdated attitudes and so on. So here's the issue. If you have a client who's out there, maybe doing some looking at your uh, list of people that you follow and that you talk with on a regular basis, they click on a couple and they see that those profiles are sharing some of these things. Well, that might reflect on you. Now, if you're only connecting with people through a professional profile and the only other people in that network are professional people, there is a lower likelihood that this is going to happen. And why is that? Because most people, if they are discussing things as their business, they're not going to be arguing with people online. They're not going to be bringing up topics like politics and bringing up topics like religion, or again, those outdated attitudes may not be as likely to be shared, or at least not so intentionally as people do sometimes on their own personal profiles. Some of those personal profiles don't link back to them in the real world, so it's hard to connect the two of them. But again, if they're connected to you, if they're part of your network, that can reflect on you if a client is out there looking at things. And just like we've all learned that things are somewhat more permanent than you'd like them to be sometimes on social media. There are always places like the Wayback Machine and other bots that are out there grabbing tweets as they are sent out. So something that you might not think will impact you could impact you down the road. So I wanted to share with you an example of something that maybe doesn't paint somebody in the best light when you're online. So recently, Paul Strickwerda, he wrote an article, let me just pull it up here, where he was talking about the Melomania wireless earbuds. Well, pretty innocuous topic. And someone basically started kind of arguing with him saying that, this article is very clickbait. Why in the article didn't you say, are these good for using in the studio or not? And just say yes or no. And I think that personally, my thought on this is that that's not something that you're going to win. Paul went through, made a very, well written article reviewing those earbuds, how they worked, how he enjoyed them, and then whether or not they worked for things in the studio. So there's not just a yes or no question there. And if you're not listening to really critical things, and if that latency that comes with some Bluetooth headsets isn't an issue, then maybe those are good for you. I don't want to give away the end of the article, of course, the reason why Paul wrote it, but he talks about some of these things in that article. And so a person was arguing with him. I'm not here to name names. I'm not here to shame the person, but the reality is that asking a person to basically post the answer without any of the details of how they got to an answer um, really isn't an answer, because for you, if you read those details, you might have a different outcome and you might think, hey, these are great for me. Whereas I might read that and think, well, hey, maybe these aren't right for me, or they don't replace something that I already have, which is ultimately what I found at the end of the article. But arguing with another person about that makes you look like, if your points really aren't super valid, that you're wasting people's time and you're not being kind and you're not being helpful. And we've talked about how one of the best ways that you can reach out to people on social media in today's environment is offering to be helpful. If you don't agree with a review somebody's done and you have a really strong opinion about that, well, review it yourself. But otherwise, follow those rules. No arguing, no religion, and no politics on social media. And, maybe leave some of those old attitudes behind if they really don't meet today's standards for communication with other people. That's my opinion. And if you have a different one, well, feel free to share it in the comments below. But let's all be respectful to each other. And that's it for this portion of learning on the Any Voices podcast. That's it. And share your opinion. Let us know. You can head over to anchor.fm/anyvoices and you can leave us a message right at our podcast page. Thank you again for tuning in. Short one today. Got more interviews that are being set up. I think there's 3 on my calendar right now. So looking forward to those. If you want to be on the show, you have somebody you want to be on the show, reach out to us, info@anyvoices.com. And of course, anyvoices.com is kind of our hub for information. We link to all the social media accounts that we have and all of the places that you can listen to the podcast, as well as on YouTube. If you'd rather watch it in video form, this also is available in that format as well. So thanks again for tuning in. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. It will help other people find us and continue that conversation. And I hope that we've earned your 5-star review with today's conversation. And thanks again for listening to Any Voices, the podcast. And let's do one more take. Until next time, bye-bye.